Sarah Chen wiped the sweat from her forehead with the back of her cleaning glove, leaving a small streak of red across her skin. The crimson liquid on the floor seemed endless, spreading across the pristine white tiles of the medical bay like spilled wine on expensive carpet. She had been scrubbing for 3 hours now, and her knees ached from kneeling on the cold metal deck. The space station orbiting Kepler 442b was supposed to be humanity's greatest achievement, a massive research facility housing scientists, diplomats, and military personnel from Earth's United Colonial Alliance. Sarah had signed up as part of the maintenance crew, hoping to see the stars and maybe save enough credits to start her own cleaning business back home. Instead, she found herself mopping up what looked like the aftermath of a medical emergency in the Alien Relations Wing. Just another day in paradise, she muttered, dunking her mop back into the bucket of disinfectant. The liquid had an odd shimmer to it, almost like oil on water, but the medical staff had assured her it was just alien blood from a routine procedure. Nothing to worry about, they said. Just clean it up and dispose of it according to protocol. Sarah had cleaned up plenty of messes in her 28 years. Blood from bar fights, vomit from drunk college students, even the occasional crime scene back when she worked for a cleaning company in Detroit. But this blood felt different somehow. It seemed to pulse with its own light, and when she moved the mop through it, tiny sparkles danced in the liquid like microscopic stars. The medical bay doors hissed open, and Dr. Martinez walked in, his usually calm expression replaced by something that looked like barely controlled panic. He stopped when he saw Sarah still working, his eyes widening as he took in the scene. "You're still here?" he asked, his voice tight. "I thought the cleaning crew finished hours ago." Sarah looked up from her work, noting the way the doctor's hands shook slightly. "The other cleaners said this was too much for them. Left it for me to handle. What happened here anyway? Looks like someone bled out." Dr. Martinez ran a hand through his graying hair. It was supposed to be a simple diplomatic medical examination. The Zephyrian delegation requested a health check before the treaty signing. Standard procedure. Zephyrians. Sarah had heard the name whispered around the station. They were one of the more powerful alien races in this sector, known for their warrior culture and strict honor codes. What went wrong? Nothing went wrong, exactly, the doctor said, but his eyes avoided hers. "It's just that the blood, we didn't expect it to be so." He trailed off, staring at the shimmering liquid on the floor. Sarah noticed how the doctor kept glancing toward the door, as if expecting someone to burst in at any moment. "Doctor, what aren't you telling me? I've been cleaning up mysteries for years. I can handle the truth." Before Dr. Martinez could answer, the lights in the medical bay flickered. Then came a sound Sarah had never heard before. A deep, resonating horn that seemed to vibrate through the station's hull itself. The doctor's face went completely white. "They're here," he whispered. "Who's here?" Sarah asked, but she could already hear heavy footsteps echoing through the corridors outside. Not the quick, efficient steps of human security teams, but something slower, heavier, more deliberate. The medical bay doors exploded inward, torn from their frames as if they were made of paper. Through the smoking entrance stepped 3 massive figures, each standing nearly 8 feet tall. Their skin was a deep blue-gray, marked with intricate silver tattoos that seemed to move in the light. They wore armor that looked like it had been forged from some dark metal, and their eyes glowed with an inner fire that made Sarah's breath catch in her throat. Zephyrian warriors. The lead warrior's gaze swept the room, taking in Dr. Martinez cowering behind a medical cart, and Sarah kneeling on the floor with her mop still in hand. When those burning eyes fell on the blood-stained floor, the warrior let out a sound that was part roar, part keen of mourning. "Kai Thara Vilnosh," the warrior spoke, his voice like grinding stone. Sarah didn't understand the words, but she felt their weight, their importance. Dr. Martinez tried to speak, his voice cracking. "Please, we can explain. The medical examination was routine. We followed all protocols." The warrior's massive hand moved faster than Sarah would have thought possible, seizing the doctor by the throat and lifting him off the ground. The other 2 warriors flanked their leader, their own eyes fixed on the shimmering blood that Sarah had been trying so carefully to clean. "You dare," the lead warrior snarled in accented English, "to spill the blood of royalty like wastewater, to let it stain your floors like common filth? Royal blood." The words hit Sarah like a physical blow. She looked down at the liquid on her mop, the sparkles and shimmer suddenly making terrible sense. This wasn't just any Zephyrian's blood. This was the blood of their nobility, maybe even their ruling family. Wait, Sarah said, finding her voice despite the terror that threatened to choke her. Please wait. All three warriors turned to look at her, and Sarah felt the full weight of their attention like standing in front of a furnace. The lead warrior's grip on Dr. Martinez tightened, but his eyes stayed fixed on Sarah. You speak, human cleaner? Sarah slowly stood, her legs trembling but her voice growing stronger. The doctor didn't know. None of us knew. If we had understood the significance, we would never have let it touch the floor. We would have collected every drop with the reverence it deserved. The warrior studying her with those burning eyes, and Sarah saw something that might have been surprise flicker across his alien features. You understand honor, little human? I understand that some things are sacred, Sarah replied, thinking of her grandmother's china, her father's war medals, all the small treasures that her family had taught her to treat with special care. I understand that royal blood should never be treated like ordinary mess. The lead warrior slowly lowered Dr. Martinez to the ground, though he kept one massive hand on the doctor's shoulder. What is your name, human? Sarah Chen. Sarah Chen, the warrior repeated, as if testing the weight of it. I am War Chief Thaxon of the Silver Mountain clan. The blood you have been cleaning belongs to my nephew, Prince Kael'tar, heir to the Zephyrian throne. Sarah felt the bottom drop out of her world. Royal blood. She had been mopping up the blood of an alien prince like it was spilled coffee. Is Prince Kael'tar hurt? She asked, genuinely concerned despite her fear. Something that might have been respect flickered in Thaxon's eyes. He lives. The medical procedure was successful, but the blood of royalty should never touch common ground. It should be gathered with ceremony, preserved with honor, returned to the stars with dignity. Sarah looked down at her mop bucket, at the precious liquid mixed with disinfectant and floor cleaner. I've ruined it, haven't I? I've destroyed something sacred. You acted in ignorance, Thaxon said, but ignorance of law does not excuse violation of honor. The other two warriors moved closer, and Sarah realized that her next words might determine not just her fate, but possibly the diplomatic relations between humanity and the Zephyrian Empire. Dr. Martinez looked like he was about to faint, clearly in no condition to handle this crisis. Then tell me, Sarah said, meeting Thaxon's burning gaze directly. How can I make this right? How can I restore the honor that was lost? War Chief Thaxon stared at Sarah for what felt like an eternity. The silence in the medical bay was broken only by the soft hum of life support systems and Dr. Martinez's ragged breathing. The two other warriors, whom Sarah now noticed bore different clan markings on their armor, watched their leader with the patience of predators waiting for a signal to strike. You ask how to restore honor, Thaxon said slowly, his voice carrying undertones that made the metal walls seem to vibrate. This is not a question humans typically ask. Usually, your species makes excuses or attempts to minimize their errors. Sarah kept her chin raised despite the tremor in her hands. I'm not most humans, apparently, and this isn't most situations. Your nephew's blood deserves better than being mixed with cleaning chemicals because we didn't know better. Indeed. Thaxon's massive form moved closer, each step deliberate and measured. Tell me, Sarah Chen, what do you know of Zephyrian customs regarding royal blood? Nothing, Sarah admitted, but I'd like to learn. One of the other warriors, his armor bearing gold accents that caught the light, spoke in rapid Zephyrian to Thaxon. The exchange was brief but intense, with several glances toward Sarah. She caught fragments of emotion in their alien words. Surprise, disagreement, and something that might have been curiosity. Commander Vex High believes you waste our time with human sentiment, Thaxon translated. He suggests we simply execute everyone involved and demand new negotiators from Earth. Dr. Martinez made a small choking sound. Sarah felt her heart hammering against her ribs, but she forced herself to remain calm. And what do you believe, War Chief? Thaxon's eyes narrowed, studying her with an intensity that made her feel like a specimen under a microscope. I believe that Prince Kael'tar would be interested in meeting the human who shows more concern for his honor than your own leaders have. The third warrior stepped forward, his armor bearing intricate blue patterns that seemed to shift and flow. War Chief, the blood ritual must be performed before the next moonrise on the homeworld. If we are to salvage this situation, we have mere hours. Blood ritual? Sarah asked. When royal blood is spilled outside the sacred chambers, Thaxon explained, It must be collected and returned to the ancestral fountains within one cycle, or the spiritual connection to the bloodline is severed. The heir loses their divine mandate to rule. Sarah felt the weight of that revelation settle on her shoulders. You're saying that because I mopped up Prince Kael'tar's blood, he could lose his right to the throne? Not could, human, will. Unless the ritual is performed correctly. Thaxon's expression darkened. And the ritual requires that every drop of royal blood be accounted for and purified by one who understands its significance. Dr. Martinez finally found his voice. Surely there must be some way to extract it from the cleaning solution. Some scientific process. Science. Commander Vex-High spat, switching to heavily accented English. Your human science pollutes sacred blood with chemicals and machines. You understand nothing of spiritual purity. Then what do you need? Sarah asked, stepping between the warriors and the doctor. What will make this right? Thaxon exchanged another rapid conversation with his companions. This time, Sarah caught more emotion in their gestures. Vex-High's aggressive stance, the blue-armored warrior's contemplative head tilts, and Thaxon's own measured responses. Finally, the war chief turned back to Sarah. There is a way, he said. But it requires something no human has ever done. Tell me. The purification ritual of spilled royal blood. It must be performed by someone who willingly accepts responsibility for the contamination, who understands the spiritual weight of their actions, and who is willing to undergo the trial of honor to prove their worthiness. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. What kind of trial? 3 tests. The blue-armored warrior spoke for the first time, his voice softer than the others but no less alien. I am Keeper Zethran, guardian of the old ways. The trial tests courage, wisdom, and sacrifice. Many Zephyrian warriors have failed these tests. And if I fail, then Prince Kael'tar loses his birthright. The treaty between our peoples is void. And Thaxon's pause was weighted with unspoken implications. And the Zephyrian Empire will consider this an act of war against our royal bloodline. The stakes couldn't be clearer. Sarah looked around the medical bay, at the blood-stained floor, at Dr. Martinez, who was still pale with shock, at 3 alien warriors who could tear her apart with their bare hands. A rational person would suggest calling in the diplomats, the military commanders, anyone with more authority and training than a maintenance worker from Detroit. Instead, Sarah set down her mop and faced Thaxon directly. Tell me about these tests. Commander Vex-High snarled something that was clearly an objection, but Thaxon silenced him with a gesture. You understand what you risk? Human, your life, your planet's safety, the future of 2 species. I understand that I'm the one who contaminated royal blood through ignorance, and I'm the one who needs to fix it. What are the tests? Keeper Zethran stepped forward, and Sarah noticed that his armor bore symbols that seemed to tell stories in metal and light. The first test is courage in the face of truth. You must stand before Prince Kael'tar himself and confess your actions, accepting whatever judgment he renders. Many humans have fled rather than face Zephyrian royal displeasure. Sarah nodded. That seems straightforward, if terrifying. The second test is wisdom in understanding. You must demonstrate true comprehension of what royal blood means to our people. Not just intellectually but spiritually. You must feel the weight of heritage, the responsibility of lineage, the connection between ruler and ruled. That sounded more complicated. But Sarah had always been good at understanding people, even when they were very different from her. The third test, Thaxon continued, is sacrifice for redemption. You must be willing to give up something precious to you, something that defines who you are, to restore the spiritual purity that was lost. What kind of sacrifice? That, all 3 warriors said in unison, remains to be seen. Sarah took a deep breath, thinking of her grandmother's voice echoing through her childhood. When you break something, Sarah, you fix it. You don't run away. You don't make excuses. You find a way to make it right. The old woman had been talking about broken dishes and muddy footprints, but the principle seemed to apply to contaminated royal blood just as well. Where do we start? Sarah asked. War Chief Thaxon's expression shifted, and for the first time since he'd entered the medical bay, Sarah thought she saw something like approval in those burning eyes. We start by taking you to meet Prince Kael'tar, he said. But first, you must understand something, Sarah Chen. Once you begin this path, there is no turning back. The ritual will change you, as it changes all who complete it successfully. You will no longer be quite the same human you are now. What do you mean? Those who undergo the trial of honor and survive carry a mark that all Zephyrians can see. You will be bonded to our people in ways your science cannot explain. You will be able to sense our emotions, understand our language without translation, feel the pull of our homeworld's moons. Thaxon's voice lowered to something almost reverent. You will become something between human and Zephyrian, something new. Sarah looked down at her hands, still stained with the prince's blood despite her gloves. She thought about her simple life, her plans for a cleaning business, her quiet dreams of financial security. All of that would be gone if she chose this path. She would become something unprecedented, caught between two worlds. Sarah, Dr. Martinez whispered, you don't have to do this. Let me call the ambassadors, the military, and watch as Prince Kael'tar loses his throne while bureaucrats argue about protocols. Sarah shook her head. No, this is my mess. I'll clean it up. She looked up at Thaxon, meeting those alien eyes with steady determination. When do we leave? The Zephyrian royal chamber was nothing like Sarah had imagined. Instead of the dark, imposing throne room she'd expected, she found herself in a space that seemed to breathe with living light. Crystalline formations jutted from the walls, pulsing with soft blue and silver radiance that matched the patterns on Zephyrian armor. The air itself felt charged with energy, making the hair on her arms stand up. Prince Kael'tar sat not on a throne, but on a simple stone seat at the chamber's center. He was younger than Sarah had expected, perhaps equivalent to a human in their early 30s, with the same towering height as the warriors but a more refined build. His skin bore intricate silver markings that seemed to flow like liquid mercury, and his eyes held depths that spoke of wisdom beyond his apparent years. So, the prince said in flawless English, you are the human who has been cleaning my blood with chemicals meant for sterilizing floors. Sarah's prepared speech evaporated under his direct gaze. Standing before alien royalty, she felt every inch the working-class cleaner she was, but her grandmother's voice echoed in her memory. When you've done wrong, you look them in the eye and tell the truth. Yes, Your Highness. I didn't know it was royal blood. I thought it was just medical waste from a routine procedure. I cleaned it up because it was my job, but I didn't treat it with the respect it deserved. I'm sorry. Prince Kael'tar studied her for a long moment. Around the chamber's edges, other Zephyrians watched in silent attention. Nobles, warriors, and robed figures Sarah assumed were priests or advisors. Do you know what my blood means to our people? Sarah Chen. War Chief Thaxon explained some of it. The connection to your ancestors, the spiritual mandate to rule, the link between you and your subjects. Sarah paused, choosing her words carefully. But I don't think I truly understand it yet. Honest, the prince murmured. Vexhai argued that humans are incapable of understanding spiritual concepts beyond their own crude materialism. Yet here you stand, admitting ignorance rather than pretending knowledge you do not possess. From somewhere behind the crystal formations, Commander Vexhai stepped forward. My prince, this human contaminated your sacred blood through carelessness. The traditional response is execution and a formal declaration of insult against her species. And yet, Keeper Zethran emerged from another section of the chamber. She has requested to undergo the trial of honor. No human has ever attempted such a thing. Prince Kael'tar rose from his seat, and Sarah was struck again by the sheer presence he commanded. Tell me, Sarah Chen, why you believe you can succeed where many Zephyrian warriors have failed. Sarah had been dreading this question during the entire journey to the royal chambers. The honest answer was that she didn't believe she could succeed. She was a cleaning lady from Detroit, not a warrior or a diplomat or anyone special. I don't know if I can succeed, Your Highness. I probably can't. But I know that I contaminated your blood, which means I'm responsible for fixing it. My grandmother always said that when you break something precious, you don't leave it for someone else to clean up. Several Zephyrians around the chamber made sounds that might have been laughter or scorn. Prince Kael'tar, however, stepped closer to Sarah, studying her with those deep, alien eyes. Your grandmother sounds wise. Tell me about the courage test, Keeper Zethran. The candidate must face the sacred flame and speak her truth while the fire burns away all deception and pretense. She must confess not just her actions, but her true motivations, her fears, her deepest self. Zethran's voice carried ritual formality. Many cannot bear such exposure. A section of the chamber floor opened, revealing a pit filled with flames that burned in colors Sarah had never seen. deep purples and brilliant golds that seemed to sing rather than crackle. The heat that rose from it was intense but strangely comforting, like standing near a fireplace on a cold winter day. "Step forward," Prince Kael'thar commanded. Sarah approached the flame pit on unsteady legs. The fire seemed to reach toward her, and she felt an odd tingling in her mind, as if something was gently probing the edges of her thoughts. "Speak your truth, human," Zethran intoned. The words came easier than Sarah had expected, pulled from her by the strange flames. "I contaminated royal blood because I was careless and ignorant. But that's not the whole truth. I've spent my whole life cleaning up other people's messes, being invisible, being overlooked. When I saw the shimmer in that blood, I knew it was different, special. Part of me was curious about what could make blood sparkle like that. I should have stopped and asked questions, but I was afraid of seeming stupid in front of the medical staff." The flames pulsed brighter, and Sarah felt layers of pretense being stripped away like old paint. "I'm here because I contaminated royal blood. Yes, but I'm also here because, for the first time in my life, someone is treating me like I matter enough to fix my own mistakes. You're giving me a chance to be more than just the cleaning lady, and I don't want to waste that." The flames subsided, and Prince Kael'thar nodded slowly. "Courage accepted. The wisdom test, keeper." Zethran gestured, and the chamber walls began to change. The crystals brightened, projecting images that surrounded Sarah like a living hologram. She saw Zephyrian history unfold around her, the rise of their civilization, the sacred bloodlines that had led them through wars and dark ages, the spiritual connection between ruler and ruled that bound their society together. "Feel what we feel," Zethran commanded. "Understand what royal blood truly means." Suddenly, Sarah was experiencing the history from the inside. She felt the weight of responsibility that came with royal birth, the knowledge that every decision affected millions of lives. She sensed the spiritual connection that flowed through bloodlines, binding generations of rulers to their ancestors and their people. She understood that royal blood wasn't just symbolic. It was literally the physical manifestation of a covenant between the divine and the mortal realm. When the visions faded, Sarah was on her knees, tears streaming down her face. "I understand," she whispered. "It's not just blood. It's the physical embodiment of your entire civilization's spiritual foundation. By contaminating it, I didn't just insult Prince Kael'thar. I threatened the divine mandate that keeps your society stable." "Wisdom accepted," Prince Kael'thar said, and there was something like wonder in his voice. "The sacrifice test remains." Sarah struggled to her feet, wiping her eyes. "What must I sacrifice?" "That," Thaxon stepped forward, "is what you must determine. What will you give up to restore the spiritual purity that was lost?" Sarah thought about what she had that was truly precious to her. Her memories of her grandmother, her dreams of building her own business, her simple human life. Then she looked around the chamber at the alien faces watching her, thinking about the prince who would lose his birthright because of her mistake. "I'll give up my humanity," she said quietly. The chamber fell silent. Even the crystal formations seemed to dim. "Explain," Prince Kael'thar commanded. Keeper Zethran said that completing the trial would change me, make me something between human and Zephyrian. War Chief Thaxon said I'd be able to sense your emotions, understand your language, feel the pull of your homeworld. Sarah took a deep breath. "I'll sacrifice my purely human existence. I'll become something new, something that can serve as a bridge between our peoples. I'll be living proof that the contamination was cleansed and that humans can understand honor when it's properly explained." Prince Kael'thar and his advisors exchanged rapid conversation in their own language. Sarah caught fragments now, her understanding growing moment by moment as some fundamental change began in her mind. "You understand," the prince said finally, "that this change cannot be undone. You will never again be fully human." "I understand, but I'll be something better. Someone who can prevent this kind of misunderstanding from happening again between our species." Prince Kael'thar approached the flame pit and withdrew something from his robes, a crystal vial containing a small amount of his blood. Then let the purification begin. What followed was unlike anything Sarah could have imagined. The ritual involved mixing the prince's pure blood with water from their homeworld's sacred springs, then anointing Sarah's forehead while she recited oaths in the Zephyrian language that she somehow knew despite never having learned them. As the ceremony concluded, Sarah felt the change taking hold. Her perception shifted, becoming broader and deeper. She could sense the emotions of everyone in the chamber. Thaxon's growing respect, Vexhi's grudging acceptance, Zethran's fascination with the unprecedented ritual they'd just witnessed. "It is done," Prince Kael'tar announced. "The contamination is cleansed, the spiritual connection restored. Sarah Chen, you are no longer merely human. You are the first human touched, bonded to both our peoples." Sarah looked at her hands and saw that her skin now bore faint silver markings, not as elaborate as Zephyrian royal tattoos but unmistakably similar. She could feel the prince's emotions now, his genuine relief that his birthright was secure, his curiosity about what she had become. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now?" Prince Kael'tar smiled, an expression that transformed his alien features into something almost familiar. "You return to your people and explain to them what you have learned. You will be our ambassador to humanity, and humanity's ambassador to us. The treaty our people sought will be stronger, because of what you have sacrificed, and the blood I contaminated has been purified through your transformation. Your willingness to change yourself for the sake of honor has cleansed not just the physical contamination, but the spiritual wound as well." War Chief Thaxon stepped forward, and Sarah was amazed to realize she could now read the approval in his alien expression. "You began this day as a cleaner of spills, Sarah Chen. You ended as a bridge between worlds." Sarah thought about her grandmother, about the simple lessons that had led her to this moment. Clean up your own messes. Take responsibility for your actions. Treat precious things with the respect they deserve. Looking around the chamber at faces that were no longer quite so alien, Sarah realized she had learned the most important cleaning lesson of all. Sometimes fixing what you've broken requires you to become something entirely new. "I'm ready," she said, and meant it completely.